Welcome to the Making Up the Numbers podcast. The Making Up the Numbers podcast is sponsored by Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, and the world's finest independent mountain bike magazine, Singletrack.
Hello everyone and welcome to season 3 of the podcast. Legendary comedies Fawlty Towers and The Office might have stopped after a couple of series to preserve the quality, but there's none of those considerations here. And not only are we back for season 3, we've gone early this year. So early, in fact, that we haven't had time to sort out any new advertising. So if you're keen to market your brand to 6,000 fully committed downhill fans, please drop us a message on Instagram at Making Up the Numbers Racing. Thanks to everyone for the feedback on the Getting More Women Racing episode. We've had more comments about that show than any other, and we're already planning a follow-up episode. But in this episode, we're going to do a little bit of light to go with the heavy because we're talking hashtag team rumours. And the reason we've gone so early, well, it's the high point of the off-season. Teams have to submit their riders to the UCI by Friday, the 15th of January. So the deals are already done, and you'll have no doubt seen some teams announced already. But it'll be a few weeks before the UCI publish the teams, so there's going to be there's still a few unannounced at the moment. Starting with our own team rumours then, and I'm delighted to announce that joining me once again for season 3 is One Vision MTB's Jack Redding. Not had enough yet, Jack?
Hey, George, thanks for having me again. No, man, I'm really enjoying it and keen to do another year with you. So hopefully we're going to have some more races to talk about and excited, man.
The only people in the world who do a racing podcast, which has had very little racing for most of season 2.
Yeah, we muddled our way through it, I think, didn't we?
We did. Let's crack on then. So what we're going to do is go through the teams alphabetically and chat to a couple of the riders along the way. Kicking things off, Canyon, who of course have 2 teams, and they only announced last season, so we believe they're going to be the same for 2021. They're the Canyon Collective Factory team with Troy Brosnan, Mark Wallace, Kaya Hearn, Jacob Jewett, and Jack Moore. And the Canyon Collective FMD team with Tony Seagrave, Chaos Seagrave, and Dennis Luffman. Solid contenders in the men's and women's fields there, Jack. You'd expect to see Tony and Troy back at the sharp end in 2021, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the women's field is really starting to open up, and that'll be really exciting to watch again. Tiny came back well from injury last year, 5th in the overall with, I think it was 7th, 6th, 3rd, and 3rd. And I'm sure she'll be one to watch for the wins throughout the year. That's undoubted. And then Troy obviously was 6th in the overall in 2020. And by his standards, that's not very good, is it? With it being Troy. I think his worst finish in a long time. He was 7th, 5th, 8th, and 6th. But it was 2020. I mean, you know, how much do we read into it? But we all know what he can do, and I'm sure he'll be in the fight. And then obviously they've got Jack Moyer there, who is such a dark horse, both downhill and enduro. I wouldn't be surprised to see him pull some results. He's a really exciting rider to follow.
Well, next we have the first of what we think are 5 teams riding Commencals in 2021, and that's the Commencal Muck-Off by Riding Addiction. And it's the big one, really, isn't it? It's got Amari Piron, Miriam Nicole, Thibaut Deprella, Thibaut Ruffin, and Gaetan Ruffin. And in one of the most surprising moves of the off-season, Remy Thirion moved on from Commencal. Did you see that coming, Jack? And where do you think he might be heading?
Honestly, did not see that coming. I would have thought Remy would have seen out his career on Commencal and with that team. So a huge surprise to me. When I did see it, my initial feeling was he must be retiring. So if he is going somewhere else, then news to me. I'm not sure if you've got any inclination, George.
I've heard a couple. I've heard one that it might be Giant.
Ooh, that would make sense.
And I've also heard that it might be Da Vinci. Because Da Vinci have split with Junior. And I don't know, but I don't know what's happening with that at all.
Somebody did tell me when I found out that was happening. I can't remember who. But they did say that both of those companies, Da Vinci and Junior, were still going to be at the World Cup. So maybe Remy's going to the Da Vinci. That would make sense as well.
So tell us a bit more about that team.
Super exciting team, isn't it? It's definitely one of my favourites to follow. Omri will be out hungry as hell, like that's for sure, after he missed out last year. And then Tebow is just, going to be one to watch for the wins, definitely. He proved that he can be consistent last year, and he was super fired up. And then Miriam Nicole will definitely be in the fight for the women's.
Yeah, well, they've not announced a replacement rider. They've been teasing something on their Instagram, but it looks like it's suspension rather than a new rider, either switching from RockShox to Fox or Owens. With Tebow coming through last season, finishing 5th in the overall, and a fit again, a Maori, plus Miriam, as you say, coming off 2nd in the overall, do they need anyone else?
No, absolutely not. I mean, with that lineup, they could have 3 riders on the podium every race. And then with the Ruffin brothers backing that up with solid top 30 results, they've got a team ready to go. So they don't need to fill any more places, really.
Next, there's Commencal 100%, which is Thomas Stack, Greg Williamson, and Hugo Frixelon. Again, these 3 riders were only put together last season, and I believe they're staying the same. I messaged Greg, and he's on the team again in 2021. He didn't mention anyone else, but it looks like it's going to be the same. And I think we said when we had Greg on that they're like a team of wild cards, really, aren't they? You wouldn't be surprised to see any of them on the podium or equally DNFing.
Yeah, super exciting team for sure. Frixie is a hell of a talented rider, only very young, and it's definitely a matter of time before he's a regular podium threat for sure. Reminds me of a certain retired UK racer with his kind of relaxed and fluid style. Who do you think I'm on about there, George?
Frixelon. Who's he like? Who's relaxed UK? Relaxed style? Simmons?
No, I think lazier.
Lazier than Simmons?
Yeah.
Lazier than Simmons. Yeah, I suppose Simmons. Simmons does come out the gate with some powder.
He's relaxed and fluid.
Retired. Retired. I see what you're saying now. Bryceland.
Yeah, definitely. They both kind of look like they're not really trying when they're going down the hill, and then their splits come up, and you're like, what? It's super fast. So yeah, Frixie's definitely going to be one to watch. And then Greg showed us last year that he clearly loves the bike and performs well on it with that team in his corner. So yeah, we can see him pushing for top 10s again. And then Thomas Stack, he's got so much fire. So yeah, not the most consistent team at the moment, with kind of 1 week they'll be great and next week they'll be crashing out, but that could change, and next year they could be banging the results out.
Yeah. I think Thomas has posted on his Instagram this week that he's had a wrist injury and he's first day out of a cast or something like that. This week.
So he hurt himself in Portugal on that. I believe it was the really fast left-hander by the road at Loser. You don't want to go down there. You're chatting on probably towards 35, 40 mile an hour, and I think he washed out and broke his wrist, or it must have been a broken wrist because he's had the cast on now for 3 months. So that's off, and hopefully he'll be back on the bike and getting himself fit, ready for April.
Cool. Then we have a new Commencal team that we know very little about, and that's Commencal 21. And joining us now is their lead rider, Angel Suárez Alonso. Welcome to the show, Angel.
Hey guys, how's it going?
All good, mate. All good. You had a fantastic 2020 season. National champion, 11th and 7th in Maribor, 12th and 8th in Lusa, finishing 7th in the overall. You must be really pleased with that.
Yeah, honestly, I'm super, super happy. It was a super weird last year with all this crazy situation and all that, but it was good. We had a chance to race, and I did what I was expecting to do. So yeah, I was super consistent. That was something that I struggled a lot in the past. So I was super proud and happy to do that.
Cool. Did you do anything different in your preparation for 2020?
Not really. Like honestly, from my point of view, it's just like I just got the chance to get everything together, as normally always something was going on, like injuries or like something wrong with whatever the track or something like that. So this year I just felt like I was ready. My body is healthy 100%, and it was 100% healthy. So that was the main difference compared to before, and I was confident also too.
Yeah, was it the first season that you've actually been 100% fit for a while?
Yeah, well, 2018 I was really good. I did really good wrestles, but I had some mechanical issues at the beginning of the season that I didn't help me as much. Yeah. And I wasn't also as fast, I think, as I was this last year. But pretty much that year was pretty good also too. That was my best year until 2020 also.
Yeah, nice. So you've been with the YT Mob since the beginning, 5 seasons. I did hear a little bit of talk. It was your decision to leave the team. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Like as well, YT. Like I really had a really good relationship with YT, and I was super happy with how everything was going. But having this opportunity, I felt like it was super interesting for me. I like a lot the part of like developing bikes and working with Ramsday, more focus on that racing part and the stuff. So that was the main thing that made me change my mind and going somewhere else. And yeah, exactly. Like they did a really good offer and super thankful for that, but I just wanted to do something different.
Yeah, nice. When did the planning start then for the Commencal 21 team?
Well, so this year was everything was super late, but I already got in contact with them before national champs. That was around maybe September or something like that. And they started talking to me, and at the end, well, like I was like, yeah, well, we'll see. It depends a lot what I'm gonna do also in the World Cups, because that's the main thing for me. And everything got getting better. My results were pretty good, and then everything started to look even better. So yeah,
Nice.
around the end of the season already, I was trying a few bikes and stuff, and that was something also that helped also too. I really like the Commencal. I felt like it fits really well my riding style.
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure. Like when I was talking to them, they were super confident on like, yeah, you should come and try the bike, and then you'll make a decision.
Yeah.
Like okay, yeah.
Absolutely. So, was it kind of your idea to have your own team with Commencal, the Commencal 21? Was there an option to join one of their teams, or did you want to do your own thing?
I think it was just a few things that make it go that way. Because the other teams are pretty French, so I think that's something that wouldn't help me as much. Because just being from other country, different language wouldn't help. But it's crazy because at the same time with Commencal, everyone is a lot of people is French, but it's so nice with me, and like from now on it's been super good. But I think it fits better that way, and also Commencal wants to work harder on the side of the Spanish language countries. So that's why it's Commencal 21, is because 21 countries in the world that have Spanish like the first language.
Yeah.
So we kind of try to focus on that a lot and work on the Spanish speaking market.
Nice. That's something else I wanted to ask you actually. Obviously, you speak English incredibly well. Was it important to you to have a Spanish speaking team to create any kind of like team vibe that you're after, or does it just work that way?
I think it's, well, in one way, if you really, I feel like you think really deep, I think it'll be helpful because it'll be easier to do everything. But in the other side, I was so used to do it that way with English and stuff that even I feel like I'm gonna miss it a little bit, you know. And the way also, like, we're gonna do a lot of stuff in Spanish, like so much stuff. I'm a bit worried in my side of losing a little bit of like the people that follow me that international kind of English speakers and stuff, but I will try my best to keep all the people like in the situation and what's going on and all that. So my Instagram and YouTube and all that, like, we'll try to do stuff in English.
Nice. And then you've got a junior on the team as well. Am I saying this right? Pau Menio?
Yes, Pau Menio,
Pau
second year junior this year.
So I'm aware of him from obviously me helping Dan. Who's in the running for the podium positions this year as a first year junior. Very fast rider. Do you think, obviously you know Austin O'Callaghan really well because you're on a team with him. How's that battle going to go next year? Can he beat Austin on his day, you think?
I don't know. It's hard to say because for me, I got a really special relationship with Ocean and his dad. They've been really good to me, and I feel like I kind of be with them, and I really like them. But at the same time, Pau is my teammate. But for now, I like Ocean a lot. Like that's the main thing for me. I'll try to keep help him because it's hard to say because he's doing his thing. He's doing so good because him, not because someone is helping him. But I always try to. Sometimes it's easier when you are a bit older to see a stuff that someone doesn't. But it'll be hard to see. But I think, from my point of view, Ocean is really, really good. Like for me, it has something special. It might not be good to say it because he's not my teammate anymore and stuff. But for me, there's the feeling I have, and I like to be honest. And for me, it's special.
Definitely. Oh no, I think everybody saw that last year. I know his dad, Chris, really well, and Oshin well, and I think they surprised everybody, or he surprised everybody last year. with just how fast and how dominant he was. So yeah, it's going to be exciting seeing those guys move up to be second year juniors and going again. So has the kind of move to have Commencal 21 and your own team has that been inspired by your time with Aaron Gwynn? Would you say? Was there any kind of inspiration?
Honestly, it's something that I run my team, but I'm really into it. Like I talk a lot with the manager, and there's another guy with the manager that work a lot with the sponsors, and I really like the idea just because they wanted to go for a team that they have the best parts possible. It wasn't about getting money from brand stuff, but at the same time, it's pretty hard because it'll be harder in some other ways. Maybe it wouldn't be as big budget as other teams, but we make sure we're gonna try to have the best components possible. I feel like I always been like that. I always wanted to do something different. I don't know why. I feel like just the way I am normally, and I'm really happy that it worked out because the bike for me is one of the most important things.
100%.
And I mean, who put the package together, Angel? Because if you were speccing a dream build, the build you're running with a Commencal, Öhlins and Bergtech, that's pretty much the dream build, isn't it? Who put that together?
So the team, like Charlie is the main guy on the team, and then Jordi also too. Simo is helping him so much with all the stuff, and they were talking with the sponsors. Also, I was involved in some conversation with all the sponsors, and for example, with brakes, not many people know, but Hayes, we run in Hayes brakes, and they're crazy good, like amazing. Like we tested them before we signed, and we just to make sure they were good. And I was like surprised, like wow, they're really good. I never thought they were so because they're not famous, And with Crank Brother wheels, for example, that for me is something important, super important. I have really good relationship with Crank Brothers also too. I was with the shoes really soon, and always with Crank Brother pedals and stuff. So kind of everything is like and then the look of the bike, all the suspension, super special too. So like everything seems really really
and
dialed for me.
Are you full 29 or are you on the mullet?
So honestly, I didn't even try the 29er. They want me to be directly on the mullet. They say Arthur, the guy in Commencal, the engineer, just like you just go with the mullet and then you'll see. And I was surprised. Like I was the kind of guy I was like, nah, mullet doesn't make any sense. I'm quite tall enough, like long legs, so I don't have any problems with the space and stuff. But crazy good, like because I feel like it's better in what is better on a mullet, but then it's not worse in any way what it should be worse. It's like still super stable. It carries a lot of speed. Of course, it accelerates more, but it doesn't roll as super fast as a 29 when it's super quick. But it has so many other stuff that is really good. So I'm super surprised, honestly, like because I was the other way before.
Yeah.
And is it full Öhlins factory support?
Yes, that's something that's really cool too. Like it's full factory. What is weird, I think only Specialized was the only team having that. So
I remember when we had Brayton on the podcast, he said there was a big difference between the support. He wasn't full factory, and the product he was getting was very different, he thought, to what Loic was riding.
Yeah. Like it's crazy because they don't get so deep with any team. I think like they're super big and they know what to do well. And then they let you do whatever but they guide you to where they think is good for you.
Yeah.
So, for example, right now, this week I'm in Andorra and I was doing testing with Commencal, and we asking what to, like, which cartridge run inside, like, with hydraulic and all that. And we, like, kind of working on that. And they just guide you in the way you should go. But at the same time, they just let you do your thing at the same time. But it's nice.
Nice. So you're coming off the YT Mob, like we said, which is a very big team, lots of support staff. Are you slimming it down a bit and running a smaller setup, or are you trying to recreate that factory level pit support that you've been used to?
So I think we're gonna have, like, we're not gonna have a truck. We're gonna have a big van and then another little van with a trailer and stuff. But we'll have a big team, like big enough, I think. What is the main thing? And then I feel like now with all this situation, I think the image is more important in Red Bull TV and then the social media you do more than having a big track, at least at the beginning when the team is not super big. So we're gonna try to do that. And then focus a lot, try to do good videos, good photos, content all the time on the team and our writers on the writers also too side. But yeah, for sure in that side is a big difference because White Team Up is really like from a lot of people and it has a big name and even Whitey the brand too. So but yeah, I think that's also something I like to grow with. Like we have brands that they're gonna grow with us. I think hopefully we're gonna try to do that. So that's something I like because I'm trying to grow still in my career. So I like that.
Nice. So you'll obviously be racing a full World Cup season. What other events does the team have planned?
So yeah, we're gonna have World Cup for sure, as you say, national champs, and then we're gonna do some open like Spanish Cup races too. So
Nice.
they want us to be there, and then try to do content as much as we can for like Spanish speaking.
Yeah, no plans to get to any Crankworks events or anything like that?
No, not yet. I think no, because also I like it, but if I want to be really focused and do loads of testing and stuff, it wouldn't help as much. So we kind of like trying to
100%. So you haven't stood on the World Cup podium as of yet. I had a conversation with you in Maribor after you came 7th outside my pit. And I think, if I remember right, your words were, I thought I'd done enough when you were talking about thinking you'd almost got a podium. After what had clearly felt to you like a great run. Did you walk away disappointed with that 7th place and think, I nearly got the podium, or were you happy with the result?
No, honestly, I was super happy. It was just like a feel of got to the bottom, Greg was first, and I got into the lead. And it's like, oh, Greg did podium the 2 days before.
Yeah.
And I asked him, and it was like, oh yeah, it was pretty good run. I just did a little mistake at the top, and then it was really good. But then I didn't thought it was gonna be so tight at how it was.
Yeah.
But still super happy. Like I was like, I missed it by 0.4. I think it was something like that. So it was nothing, but it's a lot at the same time. But I was happy, really happy. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think it was one of those weekends where on the first race, because it was still quite wet, the gaps were quite, you had more room for error, whereas by Sunday it was pretty dry and the smallest little bit you were dropping back. And I think I remember Greg saying in an interview afterwards that he was surprised. I think he was 10th, and I'm sure he said he was surprised. He was
something like that. Yeah.
He was back there. Well, anyway, after a great season in 2020, finishing with your top 10 results and 7th in the overall, how are you feeling going into 2021? And are you feeling like the podiums are a little bit closer to being able to get hold of?
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit closer now. Just because before the goal was more top 10 than podium. Just to make sure I could be able to do it because I knew I did it before. So I was like, all right, now I want to make sure I could do it.
Yeah.
Once I feel like now I'm kind of okay to do it. If I have a bad weekend, I won't be there. I think like even top 10 because it's super tight. But that's the goal now. Like, I want to step it up a little bit, and I'm sure it's not going to be first, second, or third because that takes even more. But to be in a good weekend around 4th or 5th, maybe in a really good 1/3. I think that's the main goal now, and that's what we're working for and what we're gonna try.
Nice. Well, it's a really, really mature and professional way of looking at it, seeing the steps and seeing where you are in your career. And well, as you've just said, there are so many races who we could name that I wouldn't bet against getting a top 10 on a World Cup weekend. And after the season you've just had, you're now one of those guys that we can we can look to get in those top 10s. So best of luck, and I really hope that the new team works well for you. And it's certainly a great bike, like you say. So you're on the best bike. So
I think so. That I feel like that's gonna make a difference in one way. Like since the beginning, I was surprised because it's easier. Like it's really good bike. Just it makes everything really easy. So when you push in, having no problems, like less problems at least with the track is better.
Just before you go, Angel, what are the differences you've noticed between then the Commencal and the Suarez?
For me, the main thing is that it makes everything a bit easier. So I don't think it will be crazy different in fast because it's not going to be. I was close to the first guy, so not going to be. Just makes everything a bit easier to ride. And I'm enjoying riding a bit more than I was doing before also too. Like I've been riding a lot, for example, this winter, but normally in winter I don't ride as much. Also because I need to get used to it, but it's just because I'm enjoying a lot. I think the mullet has something to see with that also too.
Yeah,
it's more fun to ride, more playful, and still good in going fast and consistent.
I definitely agree with that. When I came off the Nikolai in 2018 onto the Commencal, I felt exactly the same thing. It was just easier to go fast because the bike was smoother, especially with the high pivot. And
It's
then,
crazy.
yeah, and then I've just come off the 29er, and obviously things in the UK are pretty shit at the moment. We're not really allowed to do much. So me and Dan have only had one day on our mullets.
Oh wow.
But it was exactly the same feeling. It was as fast everywhere, but it was more playful. You could corner quicker. Little simple things like if I made a mistake and wanted to change position on the track, you could just snap it back across.
So easy, yeah. It's crazy.
Whereas the 29 rear wheel is just like you have to like send it a text and be like, just a heads up, we're going to be changing direction.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to explain the difference, because even if you like, it's easier to set up more because the bike turns quicker, but at the same time, if you missed it, and you can turn in that really short angle, like so short, the bike will slide but don't lose much speed, and it will turn so quick, like change direction. It's crazy. And I really like, for me, I feel like one of my strongest points is turning, just because I like turning a lot also too, and now I'm loving it. It's crazy.
Cool. Well, best of luck for 2021, Angel. I hope you have a great season.
Thank you very much, guys. Had a good chat, and bye. See ya.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. We'll be back with
Thank you,
more
guys.
after these messages. Welcome back. Our next guest is on the YT mob, so there's a lot to get through alphabetically before then, so I'll crack on. Next team is Continental Atherton, and it looks like they're staying the same for 2021. Rachel Atherton, G Atherton, Charlie Hatton, and Millie Johnset. I dropped Charlie a message, and he confirmed he's on the team again next season, and it looks from her Instagram like Millie is too. Can G win another World Cup? That's one big question for this team.
Yeah, I mean, when we spoke to him on the podcast at the start of last year, I would have said maybe. He sounded hungry and focused, didn't he? We asked him some pretty probing questions about what he wanted to achieve, and he said he wanted to be back at the top. But his results last year just didn't support that at all. But again, it was 2020. A lot of riders were walking around like they didn't give a shit. Some were even saying they didn't give a shit and weren't happy about the double headers. So was G one of those, and he'll come back the normal G athlete that everyone's used to in 2021? I guess we'll just have to find out.
What do you think makes Greg still be able to do it at 38? I'm not even sure how old he is anymore. And other riders,
39 now.
39. Other riders not be able to stay there.
I think the thing is, he's never not been there, has he? So G kind of faded away a little, and then he came second at Le Bresse without an enduro rider being there. He would have won it. And like, then he's faded away again. Whereas Greg's never not been there throughout everyone. Sam Hill, Aaron Gwynn, now the Frenchies. Greg's always been a podium contender and a threat. So he's always going to have that hunger because he's where he wants to be. If he has a season where he's all of a sudden he's struggling to get inside that top 10, he'll probably walk away. But I think it's easy for him to keep the fire because it's where he wants to be. So he's having a good time. Simple as that.
Next question for that team is Rachel. She's been out for a long time. It'll be, by the time we go racing again, it's going to be nearly 2 years. How hard is it going to be for her to get back in the groove, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Rachel, being what Rachel's like, I think she'll only come back to World Cup racing if she thinks she can win. And it takes so much focus and dedication. It'll definitely depend on where she is in her life. Like, she's engaged now. Is she, wanting to get married and have kids? Who knows? Only her and her close circle of family and friends know that. Maybe only she knows. She might take a different role within Atherton Bikes as more of a brand ambassador and not be doing the racing, similar maybe to what Tracy Hannah's doing with, the team she rides for. And she's not going to be doing those high profile races, but instead, representing at Crankworks and things like that. It boils down to, does Rachel think she can win the race? If she thinks that, she will be there for sure. But if everything isn't in the right place for that, then no, I don't think she'll be there.
Fair enough. Next up, Cube Factory Racing, Danny Hart and Max Hartenstern. Danny on his new program. He's going to be hungry, isn't he, after the way the Madison deal came to an end, his ex-teammate winning the World Cup overall. He's sure to have a bit of fire in his belly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He clearly didn't have his head in the game in 2020, and for obvious reasons. That news spill in Maribor was ridiculous. I mean, who knows why that happened the way it did when it did, but in my opinion, it was very unprofessional. So it means for sure he's going to come out firing on all cylinders for 2021. It's Danny Hart. Everybody knows what he can do. He's proved it many, many times. So, yeah, and I mean, obviously he's got with the team change, he's got his new coach. He's under the Fit for Racing program, which is what I've been on for the last couple of years. And yeah, I can tell you from personal experience, he's definitely going to be fitter and stronger and the most prepared he's ever been. Obviously, it's quite a close circle of us that work with Johnny at Fit for Racing, and they're kind of happy where Danny is, but they're also really kind of keen to progress him, and he's keen to progress, and he's working hard up there with Elliot and Adam. So yeah, I think he's going to be in good shape.
I think the Cube bike is either a 650B or a 29. I don't think there's a mullet yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see one arrive start of April.
Yeah, I mean, we all know from the mist that he doesn't like or didn't like that 29er. So yeah, how easy it is for them to modify either frame with offset bushings, who knows? But I didn't realize that's interesting. I mean, he must have been happy, otherwise I don't think he would have signed, because with just him and Max there, it's clear that Cube wanted him to win races, so he wouldn't have signed if he wasn't happy with the bike.
Yeah, it's a fair statement from Cube, that, isn't it? It's a change in ideology, kind of, to try and actually win the thing.
Big time, big step up with three, very talented riders. Phil on his day obviously can have that kind of flash result, but Danny's, a much more expensive, consistent podium and race win threat. So yeah, as you say, it's definitely a big statement.
The fourth team riding Commencal bikes is Dorval AM Pro, the Dorval AM Pro team, which is Camille Balange, Monica Krasnik, Baptiste Perion, and Benoit Coulanges. Last year they had Mariana Salazar on there as well, and I believe she's gone privateer now, but will still get support from Dorval. Camille obviously won Worlds last season, and Benoit had a really, really good season, including becoming French national champ. That team must have far exceeded their goals for 2020.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with the world champs, but great year for them, and it'll be exciting to see if they can come back and build on that next year. But they're a really nice crew. I know them all personally. They give us a lift up to the top in Loser when they didn't have to. They're a nice bunch, and we definitely look forward to hanging out with them again at the races. And hopefully Benoit's working on his English like he's promised, so that we can have him on the podcast this year and get some words from him.
Definitely. So now we get on to a few that are unannounced. So we've got the Giant Factory off-road team, as we've just discussed. Maybe Remy Therion. Looks like Jacob Dixon's staying there, and Matthew Sterling. Marcelo Gutierrez did a glory dream build video on his Instagram the other day, so I don't know whether he'll be coming back to World Cup racing or whether he's out now. But this is the first of the big kind of remaining question marks, really. I believe Giant's the biggest bike company in the world. So they've got the budget, but they never seem to try and make that commitment to try and win downhill races, do they?
No. So, I mean, from what I kind of heard on the Gossip Vine last year, and what I saw with them having Matthew and Jacob at World Champs and then not having them attend the World Cups, even though when we were at Leogang, we were about 3 hours or something from Maribor. Their commitment, as you say, is just poor, and it seemed like they'd just taken any excuse to just not any excuse. Obviously, there was a serious pandemic going on, but small teams like myself made it work. Big teams like Specialized made it work. Medium-sized teams made it work, and it just seemed like Giant just couldn't be asked. And yeah, whether they're going to go, right, let's do this properly and sign a big rider like Remy, or whether it's just going to be more of the same. And who knows? But as you say, so far, they certainly haven't been chasing those race wins.
Yeah, and the next up's GT Factory Racing, which Windmasters, Johannes van Kleesberg, the Denim Destroyer, Martin Mays, Noga Korem, Ethan Crack, by the looks of it. it's a very similar brand, isn't it? It's a legendary brand with huge sales globally, but there are much smaller brands with stronger teams. They seem to pick up riders who become available rather than, apart from Martin, who has some kind of connection, I believe, to GT, rather than going out and signing a podium contender. Anybody you think they'll be adding to that lineup? Who can you see at GT?
Yeah, I mean, I do just wonder, as you say, like, I wonder how much Martin costs. Because Win won't be cheap either, because Win is a very marketable rider with the other things he does away from the races. So whether they're happy with what Martin does from the racing perspective, and then they've got what Win does in the media, and they're kind of happy with that, who knows? I mean, there's Phil Atwell kicking about, isn't there? So maybe we'll see him pop up on a team like that.
He's been riding with Win, I think.
Because Win's in the UK now, isn't he? Of course. So, yeah, I mean, Phil's got to go somewhere. He's on the podium in Loser. Yeah. Like, somebody's got to give him a ride. He's a super talented rider.
I wonder if, like, you look at those brands that have the top 3 Enduro World Series riders. If you say Sam Hill, Richie Rude, Martin Mays, probably top 3. None of those have downhill teams.
No, they probably can't afford it.
You're sorry?
Can't afford it, I guess.
No,
I mean, that happened to CRC, didn't it? Sam just engulfed the budget, and I think the people involved in that team are quite excited by Enduro, so they were quite happy to just go that way.
Yeah, I wonder if it does translate to sales more than having a downhill team, having the top Enduro riders.
I've been told before, like, I guess there'll be different opinions within the industry on this, and I'm sure brand managers and people marketing these brands have different opinions, but I've been told the opposite many times, that they're not bothered about Enduro at all, and most of the brands are more interested in pumping the money into downhill. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Specialized, their downhill team spends a shitload of money. Do they even have an Enduro team?
I don't think they do anymore, because they've
got riders, but
yeah.
So look at that, one of the biggest bike companies, Santa Cruz. They've got Mark Scott, but again, no proper. Maybe they've got that. I can't remember his name. Gary fella. Yeah. But yeah, as you say, I think some brands like Chain Reaction have gone, right, we're all about Enduro, and Sam Hill, and then other brands have gone, we're all about downhill. Interesting.
Next is Hope Factory Racing, one of the sponsors of the show, and I spoke with them this week, and they confirmed their sponsorship again for 2021. So thank you very much to that. For that to the Hope team. But I forgot to ask them about their team whilst I was speaking to them. So I know Melanie Chapaz is off the team, and you can't see any Brayton anywhere else, can you, than Hope? He's been there that long. He's part of the furniture now.
Well, we might have said that about Angel, and 5 years in YT, and he's moved. So one thing's for sure, Brayton only does what Brayton wants to do. So
very much like Danny.
If he's leaving, he'll be leaving for a reason. So
Intense Factory Racing, Aaron Gwynn, Nico Mullally, and Seth Sherlock moving up to Elite. It's a big year for Aaron, isn't it? 3rd year on Intense. Looked to be getting back to his best in 2020 with that 4th in Loser, but he's still stuck on 19 wins. The question is, will we see Gwynn on the top step in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I remember saying to someone that Gwynn was definitely going to supersede Greg in the GOAT race, and now I'm kind of the opposite opinion, that at the moment you'd probably put your money on like Greg to win at Fort William or something next year and go to 23 and maybe not see Aaron. But I mean, Aaron's so calculated, he'll win when he's ready to win. It won't be like a roll of the dice run that we see someone like, I don't know, let's say Pirion have, where like Leger last year, where it was just so wild top to bottom. It'll be when all his ducks are in a row, and on the day, none of the fast Frenchies or even the GOAT will be able to touch him. We've seen that before, like that run in Wyndham, the run at Val d'Isole. But the big question is, can he get all those pieces in the right place and be there again? He's one of those riders that if everything is right, he's unbeatable. But it also seems that he's kind of one of them that if one thing is wrong or a little bit off, he doesn't turn up. And I think with so many other guys now in contention for the win, it's not just those 2 or 3 anymore. There's kind of like almost 10 of them that you'd kind of think could do it. So yeah, who knows?
Kona Factory team, Conor Fearon, Jackson Frew and Miranda Miller. I don't know if Miranda will be racing downhill, but I don't think Connor's one of those guys like Dean Lucas who stayed in Australia last year. Sam Hill didn't come racing.
Yeah.
I think it's... I was going to ask you this a bit later when we got on to Scott, but I'll ask you now. Do you think those guys, if it's been nearly 2 years since they raced, at least 18 months, how easy is it to jump back in after that length of break, do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll get some events in Australia because obviously they're into summer now in Australia. So
I think there's one this weekend. I think actually the racing Mount Buller this weekend. So
right, there you go. So if they've got some pre-season events, it'll all come back. It's like riding a bike, eh? But sorry, that was bad. Yeah, I mean, those guys are experienced. They can be getting back on with it. I was thinking about this earlier today that Dean Lucas was 10th in the overall in 2019. He would have been permanently protected in 2020. I'm not sure what the UCI will do about that. But when he swings his leg over his bike in April in Maribor, assuming he does, it'll be 18 months since he's raced a World Cup. It's a long time.
Yeah, definitely. Madison Saracen Factory team, the first ones to announce. Matt Walker, Veronica Vidman, Jordan Williams and Harry Malloy. Matt's obviously the defending World Cup champion. Can he repeat in 2021?
Yeah, for sure. Very excited to see if Matt can produce his first win next year. I do wonder if he'll obsess about winning too much and whether that then unsettles him if it doesn't come straight away.
Yeah.
But if you are listening, Matt, hopefully what you and Will have got going on will kind of keep you focused and stop that happening, and keep the view on the bigger picture. And as we said to him when he was on, like he's, in my opinion, he's definitely got what it takes to spend 15 or 20 years at the top of the sport like Greg has.
Yeah.
The other one on that team that's going to be quite exciting is Jordan Williams. Nobody, a lot of our listeners won't even know who that is, but he was a very fast youth rider in 2019. Would have been a second-year youth in 2020, so he's now going up to junior. And Dan knows him, chats with him, and it sounds like he's hungry as hell and very, very fast. So those second-year juniors, Oshin and the Spanish lad that we were talking about last night, and a few of the others, that they're going to have Jordan to contend with as well. So that's going to be exciting. And then, as you say, Veronica, let's see if she can keep pushing for podiums next year. It's going to be interesting.
So Jordan Williams, when I started doing the blog for Singletrack in 2016 or 2017, 16, I think, he was a first-year juvenile. And I remember this because he went undefeated, and I think he might have done it. He definitely did like his first season completely undefeated. Might have done his second season as well at the Nationals and all the UK races. And he's the one that I remember. You know how you see riders coming through that you just think, keep your eye on that one because he's winning every week. So, yeah.
Definitely want to watch.
Next, MS Mondraker. Laurie looks like, they haven't announced, but it looks like it's going to be Laurie Greenland, Brooke McDonald, Eleonora Farina, and Thibault Lele. How do you pronounce that? Thibault Lele?
I always call him Lally.
Lele. Thibault Lele. Sorry, Thibault, if you're listening. Mike Jones, they've obviously announced off the team. We're presuming everyone else is staying because if you're announcing your rider was leaving, surely you'd announce them all kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
Andreas Klobb looks like a good addition to that team. He's Austrian, like Marcus Peckel, who runs it. And he impressed on Gamex last season.
Yeah, definitely could be an addition there. I can't remember where he finished in the overall, but he definitely had some good results. A couple of top 20s, I believe.
Yeah, he'd be a good addition to that team for sure. And Laurie, do you think you were confident? You thought Laurie was going to win. I mean, obviously he had a bad injury to his wrist, I think. Was it at the first race? You were confident. Yeah, you picked him for winning stuff this season.
Yeah, I mean, I know I wouldn't be shy of picking him again. He's definitely a major threat for sure. Next,
we have, I'll give it the full name as she made a point of mentioning it to me this week. It's Nina Hoffman Racing, powered by stiffmtb.com. and their rider is Nina Hoffman. And as I say, I spoke to her, and she's sticking with the solo program in 2021. 2020 worked out pretty well for her, so you can see her doing well again.
Yeah, she won at least one.
Yeah,
didn't she?
yeah, she won. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you remember where she finished in the overall?
I'm guessing third.
Because Cabaret won, didn't she? I can't remember who was second.
Miriam was second.
Miriam second. Okay, so yeah, Nina was probably third then. Yeah, so she's definitely shown she's there.
Yeah.
And if that program works for her, I can say from experience that having your own setup can be really, really beneficial. So
yeah, with kind of Angel, who we've spoken to already, Nina going that way with a kind of similar approach to yourself. Do you think we're going to see? Do you think that's going to be one of the things that comes out of this pandemic? The less kind of factory teams and more people going their own way?
honestly, I mean, you're winding me up here. I'm going to be off, but I don't think it's anything to do with COVID. It's simply that there are not enough spots on teams for the amount of talented riders that are in the paddock. And with the sport being strangulated by the UCI and Red Bull, making it more and more difficult for teams to register, or it just means there's too many riders for what's going on. So it leaves quite a lot of riders in the position where they do need to do their own thing. And yeah, hopefully people will start to really do that and get their heads together and go, right, hang on a minute. Well, hang on, we're all top 60 riders and we're not on factory teams. Let's, put our resources together and combine some sponsors and let's go racing.
Because the cost to the brand must be way less. If there's no truck, there's no,
Definitely.
Next, again, another one that hasn't confirmed yet, but looks like it's going to be the same from having a little scout around on Instagram and stuff. And that's Norco Factory downhill team. Sam Blenkinsop, Henry Fitzgerald, Lucas Cruz, and Elliot Jamieson. I don't think Sam came over for the 2020 season, did he? I think he stayed in New Zealand.
Yeah, the three big riders that I was aware of not being in attendance was Sam, Connor, and Dean.
Yeah,
they were the three. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. He'd had a really good preseason, and he won Crank.
Yeah, he had, hadn't he? Yeah.
Be interesting to see if he comes out of the gates hot this year.
Pivot Factory Racing looks like they're staying the same. I messaged Emily, and she said she's on the team again next season. There's going to be an announcement in the coming days, but it's quite a strong team, isn't it? Bernard Kerr, Ed Masters, Matt Walker, the Kiwi Matt Walker, sorry, not Australian, Emily and Morgan Shaw. It's a strong lineup for a brand like Pivot.
Definitely, and the marketable brand as well. They've all got their own qualities, and they're kind of like a little family, aren't they? Like Emily said, and fun team to keep your eye on.
Polygon UR. Tracy's obviously retired. Mick, have you heard anything? Mick keeping going?
Oh, Mick will be there when he's 50. I ride with Mick quite a lot of the races and do runs together and hang around in the pits, and he just loves it. Like, it's just what he's done forever, and it's a good time, and it's good people, and he's riding his bike, and
it's going to end one day. So if you've got a deal, you might as well carry on with it, and everybody's happy for you to.
I think Mick's 36. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
So unless something changed, I'm convinced he'll be there till he's 40.
Yeah. And I messaged Joe Breeden. He's confirmed that he's on UR next season. There's rumours on the internet that they might not be on Polygon. That the UR team might be on a different brand.
Interesting.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
But
it'd be interesting to see what comes out of that then, because obviously Cuscus, the team manager, has been, running the UR team with support from Polygon for about 9 years, I think.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Propane Factory Racing, George Brannigan, Henry Kerr, Luke Mayer-Smith. There were rumours of Phil going back here on the internet.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know whether you can see a brand. It's a small brand, Propane, really, isn't it?
I might be misremembering, but I'm not sure that relationship ended well.
No, I don't think it did now. I'm saying talking about it.
Whether they are just rumours and speculation.
I think I saw George Brannigan was riding a new downhill bike, though, the other weekend.
Right.
So
Okay.
they've got a new bike. new bike coming. So next, alphabetically, would be the Santa Cruz Syndicate, but I'm going to skip over those and I'm going to go straight to the Scott Factory downhill team, which looks like it's going to be Marine Cabiru, Brendan Fairclough, Dean Lucas, Florent Payet, and Luis Gaillet. As we said earlier, Marine took the overall with 2 wins and 2 seconds. That's pretty dominant, and Dean missed the 2020 season. Still quite a strong team for Scott, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And Brendan on his day can do well, and Dean, as I say, 10th in 2019, and I can remember him saying in an interview that he felt like he was just kind of gradually lifting his game, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can continue to do that with that 18 months away from the World Cups.
Yeah. So we're getting on to the juicy ones now. Next is we'll do the Santa Cruz Syndicate. So currently confirmed, Greg Minnaar and Lucas Shaw, with obviously Loris moving to Trek. Syndicate only having 2 riders. Do you think that's a ploy, or are they going to sign someone else, or do you think they're you think Greg's coming to the end, he can't go on forever, they're waiting for a Bruni or a Piron to become available, say, at the end of next season?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you think, well, it's Syndicate, so they're not going to sign someone that's not a top 10 contender, because I don't ever remember them having anyone who wasn't contending for top 10s.
Yeah.
So you then think, well, hang on, who's left? Not many people potentially. So I can't see them signing Remy Tirion because Remy's in his 30s.
Yeah.
And they've already got Minnaar who's that age. They probably want to go for a younger rider. So you then could think, well, are they going to maybe do instead of a 3-year contract with a rider, thinking out the box, would they potentially look at someone like Jamie Edmondson and give him a 1-year deal, see what he could do under Greg's kind of leadership, and then if he doesn't do well, go on you go, and see if someone else like Bruni or Piron is then available. But I can't see him taking a small rider. I really can't.
So the Syndicate has famously never had a female rider. If you were going to make a statement, do you go out and sign Valley Hall?
Well, there you go. That's your big signing right there. There's, she's going to be fighting for the wins. We saw that at World Champs. She was before she hurt herself. She was absolutely hauling. So, yeah, I mean that would be a good fit, wouldn't it?
It would.
And as we said in the podcast about the women racing, why is it a problem? It's not a problem. It's an advantage. It would add an exciting, different feel to an already very exciting team. So I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I messaged Valley. I was trying to find out if she wouldn't tell me, obviously.
Yeah, I asked her as well. She didn't reply.
But
she just laughed.
I guessed. I said, look, I'll guess that you're either going to the Syndicate or the next alphabetically, which is the Specialized Gravity team.
Yeah.
So that looks like it's going to be Loic and Finn again with Christopher Grice.
Yeah.
Christopher Grice still in junior,
Yeah, he'll be a second-year junior next year.
Second-year junior. You could, if I was a betting man, if I was putting money on it, I'd put money on Valley ended up at Specialized.
See, I'd bet Syndicate.
Would you?
Yeah, because Specialized Gravity, I look at that, Loic, Finn, and Chris written down, and I don't see a seat available. Like, that team has been a 2-rider team now for a while. Is it since Loris left 3 years ago?
Yeah.
So I look at it and I think, well, I was even surprised they took a junior. So if then they took a woman, I'd be like, whoa, I'm really surprised, because the team just always seems to be small and whatever. Whereas, as I say, Syndicate, I could see Valley going there and fitting in well, and I could see it working well with Kathy and Laura, and I can just imagine the pits and it working, and so that's where I'd be putting my money.
I can, if I was kind of a marketing manager now, a brand manager, I would go out and do everything I could to sign Valley.
Yeah, 100%.
She's the nearest thing I would say to a guaranteed podium in racing.
She's exciting as well, though. She's Red Bull. She's kind of quite charismatic around the race scene, and everyone's talking about her because she's young.
And she's going to sell bikes. And a brand like Specialized, she's clean cut, great image. She would fit well with that. And I can see, you imagine that team, Loic, Finn, and her, and Chris.
3 Red Bull riders.
Yeah, it's strong.
Yeah. Has Syndicate ever had a Red Bull rider?
I don't know if they have.
They haven't. Nathan Rennie, Petey, Bryceland.
Bryceland was monster, wasn't he? Yeah.
No, they've never had a Red Bull rider. Whether that's just coincidence or...
Is Loris not a Red Bull rider?
No, because Loic is.
Ah.
Usually it's just one. That rule is starting to change.
Yeah, we've got loads, haven't we?
Well, we've got Laurie and G, and now Cade. But apparently, when I asked Laurie about this, I'm sure he said something like they'd started making like a... Because I said, how have you got the deal with G still being on Red Bull? And he said they're starting to do this kind of legends thing. So G is now a Red Bull legend, allowing Red Bull to start signing more. But obviously they took Laurie and then they took Cade. So I think that rule just isn't a rule.
It's a rule when they want it to be.
Yeah.
Next up is the Brigade. Alex Marion and Rudy Cabarrou. They said goodbye to Santa Cruz this week.
You missed one.
Have I? Oh, I have.
I was like, hello, I'm right here.
It's because it's in a slightly different colour on my page.
Anyone, you can't see him if you're listening and you're not watching on YouTube. George has gone as red as a tomato.
I have indeed, you. Right.
Which team have you missed, George? Tell him.
SR Suntar. Sorry. No, I can't pronounce it. SR Suntour Commencal Racing, the 5th and final team, we think, on Commencal bikes.
Yeah, I can confirm that this team will be on Commencal bikes because obviously it's mine. Thank you, George. Thanks for remembering us.
And I've got down Jack Redding, Dan Slack, +1.
Yeah, so we're super excited to announce that Commencal are coming on board as our second title sponsor behind SR Suntour. So that is great, obviously. Super excited to be continuing working with both of those brands. Dan is coming up into Elite to join us in the big boys category. So we don't want to take, all I'll tell you is we're not taking a junior because it's going to be too distracting for me to try and help Dan and get him into his first year in Elite and try and spread myself too thin and help a junior again. So the rider we're taking on will be a youth rider with a kind of on-look on a 3-year plan, but we're not ready to tell anyone who that is yet. But yeah, super exciting. We're ready to go. And yeah, cheers for remembering us, George.
Of all the teams for me to miss, it would be that one, wouldn't it?
I thought, is he skipping over this for any reason? Or
And you've been on the mullet?
Yeah, so we've had one day on it. I did some back-to-back testing with my 29. I got a video coming from that on my YouTube soon. We're just not releasing or not showing the colour yet. Commencal aren't quite ready for that because it'll be a 2022 colour. Dan's gone straight to the mullet. He's only 5'2" or whatever he is. So he was buzzing his ass every turn on the 29, and he just loved the mullet straight away. So yeah, we're all gonna be on those for sure.
Cool. So next up, we have the Brigade with Alex Marion and Rudy Cabarrou. As I said earlier, they said goodbye to Santa Cruz the other day on Instagram, and I believe they've got a new project to announce. Any ideas at all what you think that might be?
Yeah, so word is that they're working with a new bike brand, and we think it's a bike brand that don't have a downhill bike at the moment. So it'll be a completely new downhill bike that none of us have seen. I believe Alex Marion is testing it at the moment. So I think news is imminent on what they're up to. So that'll be exciting to see.
That'd be cool to see a new bike, because we haven't had a new bike for a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that Gamux was the last one we saw, wasn't it?
Yeah. Trek Factory Racing Downhill. This is just an unbelievable.
You like this one, don't you?
Men's team. Reese Wilson, and I've put him first because he's the world champion.
Yeah, I saw you put him before Loris. I thought, oh, bold.
No, I think he's.
But yeah, he's world champ.
He's the world champion. Yeah, shout out Reese. Reese Wilson, Loris Vergier, Charlie Harrison, and Cade Edwards. Let's talk about Loris for a minute, because 2020 was probably going to be his year, wasn't it? If it hadn't been for that front flat, he'd have probably been World Cup champion. Was that his big chance, do you think? Or will he have others?
Honestly, like I have a different take on it, and I definitely think there will be others because he's world class and he's not going anywhere. He's going to be pushing for. He's going to be a podium and win contender week in, week out. But I think Matt had him fair and square. Like Matt didn't look rattled at all. He was just consistently pushing those runs out. And as we saw on the last day, because he had the front flat at round 3, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it was still all to play for in round 4. And I think he was 13th and Matt was 3rd. So yeah, I think Loris will have learned a lot from that. And yeah, I think it will help him be like stronger mentally in those situations in the future.
Yeah.
But I'd be amazed if he's never World Cup champion. I can see that happening at some point for sure.
Reese, world champion, and then he was first in seeding, wasn't he, in Maribor?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was seeding or time training. Can he come into 2021 again with form like that?
Honestly, like he shocked. He certainly shocked me in Leogang. I don't think I ever saw him on the track because obviously I was going up and watching Dan, and it was a different practice group. And Mike Vickers kept saying to me how great Reese looked, and people were making comments about it, but I never saw it firsthand. And then obviously he went and won. And then Maribor, that qualifying day, we practiced in the dry, and then the qualifying day, the heavens opened and it just rained all day, and it was horrendous. It was just like riding in the UK, and he went and smoked everybody in quali, and it was like, wow, like he's here to stay. And then obviously he had his accident and had to go home, so it was all a bit of a boom, and then that was the end of it. So yeah, who knows? Is he going to be there again?
Well, I think he was off track, wasn't he? Basically, that's what.
I don't know.
And there was this is just from reading online. I haven't spoken to Reese, but they have a contract in all their riders. This is what it says online. In all their riders' contracts, there's a clause that says if you become world champion, we have to offer you another 2-year deal. Right. So they've got Loris lined up. Reese is off the team, and then they have to offer him this deal. So that's that World Championships. That got him another deal for another 2 years.
Kept him on there, yeah, definitely. And it's surprising that if he did have his options open and his contract was up, it's surprising that other teams didn't come sniffing. Again, someone like Syndicate, I could have seen him after that performance over those 2 weeks. I could have seen someone like Syndicate and Menard going, we'll have a bit of that. He's only 24. Yeah. Let's bring that in. So, but yeah, he's obviously happy at Trek and was glad he got offered that continuation.
Yeah. Next, final team, the YT mob. David Trummer, Dakotah Norton, Guy Johnston, and Ashina Callahan. And we'll be back with the YT mob's Dakotah Norton after these messages. Dak, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time. Tell us a little bit about where in the world you are right now.
Yeah, so I'm down here in Florida at the moment. Kind of a crazy place. There's not a lot here, but there's a lot of great motocross tracks. So, we're staying in this little town called Waldo, Florida. And so like right now I had to go up to the Starbucks to get Wi-Fi just because there is no connection out here. So making do with what we have. But just down here riding some dirt bikes.
And how long are you down there for?
I think I'll stay for another week. I'm gonna give it a whirl for another week, ride some dirt bikes. I'm actually gonna try a GNCC, an off-road motocross race on Sunday with my buddy Nico Malawi. And then he's gonna come down and we're gonna do a few more days on the dirt bike.
I think I've heard of that, Nico. Does he ride downhill as well? Or?
Yeah, he rides downhill mountain bikes. He's good at it too.
You came to the World Cup scene pretty late. I think 2016 was your first full season, and then you kind of really arrived in 2018 with that fifth place in Lachine. That was your first World Cup on Junior Da Vinci, and you finished it off. You finished it off your time with Junior with a podium at the penultimate one in Loser. It wasn't too bad a ride for you, was it? Really?
No, we'll take that. I mean, it's pretty cool. A bittersweet thing with changes in the team and in my last year there. But it was good to, I won my I got my first podium with another mechanic, and then I had a mechanic that worked super hard for me for the last few years, Angers, and we got a podium for him right before we left. So it was definitely a bittersweet thing. We went into the season with good vibes, and it was kind of sad to see the changes, but we made the most out of it.
Sweet. So when did you find out that there wouldn't be a team in 2021? Because I think, was it Rob said in commentary that, you were openly looking for a ride in Maribor or Lusa? I can't quite remember which one.
Yeah, I think he announced it in Lusa, but I got told a week before Worlds. So we were all at a test camp, and vibes were super high, and it was like we got the wind pulled out of our sails for sure. And there will still be a Unior program next year. Just the actual team Unior Da Vinci there'll be some changes. So me being an American rider for a European tool brand doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So
no. So you're managed by Martin Whiteley.
I am.
Yeah. So he owns and runs the YT Mob. Yep. So I'm presuming at this point he's got a rider who hasn't got a ride next season. He runs a team, but I'm presuming at this point that he didn't know Angel was leaving.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of the details there, and when I was looking for a ride in Lusa, I didn't think that door would open. We had talked in the past and such, and about management, talked in the past about the team and stuff, and it didn't really seem like there was a door open, and it just opened up pretty late, and I jumped on it.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Dak, I want to start with a little story for everyone. You might hate me for this one, but
oh boy, there's a lot of stories.
We're going back to, it's not too bad. We're going back to Lenzerheide 2017 when I first met you really for the first time. I think you'd been around the World Cups a little bit, and I think, as George said, you started in 2016. And that weekend, Lenzerheide, we were all down at the lake after the race. I was with my girlfriend at the time, wife now, and the rest of my kind of team crew, and you were with some of your American buddies, and we were just having like a bit of a chill after the race. I'd just come 18th, which to date is my best ever result. And you turned up, this loud American guy making loads of noise with his three mates, and we all got chatting, and you dipped your toes in the water and said something. I tried to confirm this with Sarah earlier. It went something like this: I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't like it. That's so fucking cold, man.
And probably about something like that. Yeah, I don't want it.
It was so funny. And you went on to tell me these excuses about your result. You'd come 29th, which was 1 second behind me in 18th. And I remember thinking at the time, what is this guy on about? Like, blah, 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 blah. And you then went on to follow that up with 14 in Val di Sole a month or so later, which I was like, oh, okay. Maybe he was telling the truth at Lenzerheide, and he obviously did have some problems. And then 5 months later, you turned up in Croatia and you came 5th. And we were all like, what the fuck? Dak has arrived. So at the end of that story, my question is, how good does it feel to be a rider who has come into the sport quite late and be able to go on to get World Cup podiums and now sign for the YT Mob?
Man, I actually just gave me chills. Literally, like I just felt like my body flush.
Well, so how good does it feel?
I'll start with the fact that the YT thing didn't really sink in until I picked up kind of my until then bike. Obviously this year things are challenging. So, I was able to get a bike to start riding, and it had the seat on it with the label, the YT Mob logo embroidered in the seat. And that's when it really sunk in for me. Like, wow, like one of the best teams out there, I mean, and Whiteley, I mean, there's no comparison to his program and what he does. So, man, crazy time. It was a long road to get there. I climbed the ladder for a long time, and there was a lot of challenges, but it makes it so much sweeter, with the road that I've had had to get there. You know, I didn't come through juniors. I didn't get all that World Cup knowledge early on. I didn't get groomed by a team. I just did it all on my own, and it's pretty incredible to have that story.
Yeah, definitely, and so much respect for it, for sure. How much of that success do you, if any, do you put down to your motocross experience? Because for anyone who doesn't know, Dak is an absolute savage on a motocross bike. How much does that help, would you say?
You know, it comes down to a variety of factors that have led me to be where I am. You know, I grew up racing motocross, so I have the speed, the traction, you know, the racecraft from racing motocross, even though I only raced until I was like 14.
Yeah.
And then I rode BMX dirt jumps in my backyard. I rode, you know, skate parks, a ton of skate parks. So I had the finesse from riding the skate parks and the ability to place the bike exactly where I want it. And before I even started racing BMX, I was in a position where, you know, I had the bike skill, but that taught me the training side of it, because I was always good at riding a bicycle, but I never was naturally gifted, fit, or strong. I was very bad at racing BMX. So I had to work super hard to get strong, to get fit, to, you know, just be an overall athlete, because I was very uncoordinated and very out of shape. So kind of getting my butt kicked for a few years in BMX made me, you know, work real hard. So it was a lot of factors that came together to me riding a mountain bike well.
Yeah, nice. So obviously, as George said, 5th place at that first loser race last year. We spoke a little bit at the event about your team situation. Tell everyone, how much pressure were you feeling going into loser, knowing that you were essentially riding for a place on a team the following year?
Yeah, that I mean, you know, it might have seemed calm on the outside, but I was melting down on the inside. I mean, you know, it's like it was kind of a crazy feeling to think, did I really come this far for it to end up like this? You know, like all the struggle and my, you know, my image of myself is maybe not what the world views myself. You know, I don't look at myself as a top downhill pro. I'm just like, still see myself as, you know, all the struggles, all the challenges to get to where I am. And I'm like, am I really going to go out like this, go back to trying to do it on my own, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I had built a pretty good program and worked really hard to get those results. And it was kind of that thing, like, is no one seeing this? Like, are we really here?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of pressure, ton.
Yeah, well, obviously it's paid off, and you're now riding the YT Choose, which is a well-established bike. Have you managed to get much time on it so far?
You know, not a ton. The weather at home has been pretty dreary, and I told myself last winter that I was going to try to avoid the winter as much as possible.
Yeah.
You know, I as soon as the first snow came and I was pedaling up this hill, and you know, there's 2 inches of snow on the ground, and I'm like, not again am I doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm planning to go to Costa Rica in February with my buddy Nico. So, and I'm hoping to get a ton of bike time there and get it on some proper tracks. You know, just sliding around in the mud isn't really going to give me a proper feel for the bike, I don't think, or riding. And it's, you know,
completely agree. I completely agree. I didn't want to bring up COVID during this podcast, but I'm going to have to for this next question. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. We try and escape to Portugal from here because for 5 months of the year, this place isn't really much good for testing because everything is, as you say, covered in mud and really cold. So there's not really much crossover to the World Cups. Are you guys being affected at the moment? Is it affecting your training, or are you kind of able to kind of get out and ride and train and do what you want at the moment?
Yeah, so in Florida, everything's fully open. Like, you can go to dinner. You have to wear a mask entering the restaurant and stuff. But like, if I wanted to go and do this podcast inside Starbucks right now, I could walk in and do it. and I can order a drink and sit down and take my mask off.
Yeah.
So for the most part for me, it hasn't really affected much. Other than the fact that there's no restrictions. We just have to wear a mask at the moment, which that's a pretty controversial thing for being an American at the moment. But
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good. At least you can get on and train. Sorry, George.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, you're joining the YT mob. I presume you haven't really had a chance to meet up with them or anything yet, but teams are kind of, you go into one of the teams with like the most backroom staff, and how important do you think that's going to be to your development, having it such a big team behind you?
Yeah, I'm just excited to have the guidance. That's the big thing that I've never had.
Yeah.
I think that, I've had a great mechanic the last few years, and our team, really did everything they could for us. We had a good program over there.
Yeah.
But, it's not, I don't have anything to compare it to because I've never rode on a full factory program. So I really don't know. That's, I'm hoping that having that guidance, having that speed, I mean, I think you pretty much just get better by going onto a program like that, just having all those resources and being in that environment. I think it's something that just kind of breeds success.
Yeah.
So it's a tough question to answer because I don't have anything to base it off of.
Well, you've proved you can handle the pressure. You're never going to probably feel pressure like that again, like you were in Loser.
Yeah, that
sure.
was pressure.
So, off the back of obviously saying how excited you are to be on the YT mob and get the full factory level support, and you feel it will potentially lift your game, what are your aims going into 2021? What do you want to achieve?
The last couple of seasons, the goal has kind of been the same. Just to be consistently in the top 10, be a podium contender, and fight for wins. And, it's kind of a scary thing for me to say fight for wins, but it was a scary thing to say, to write down on the chalkboard, get a World Cup podium a few years ago, and I did it. Yeah. So, it's always a scary thing to, put your goals out there in the open but you have to, you have to write it down. You have to believe in it. I just, I got my first World Cup podium on a pretty loose run and kind of hanging it out a bit. And I got my second one on a clean, tidy run. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just in the future, just try to continue to put down those smooth, consistent runs and keep the mistakes to a minimum. And hopefully I'll be right there where I want to be.
Yeah, nice.
Excellent. Cheers, Dak. Thanks for making the time to come on the show, and best of luck for 2021 and beyond.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, man. Best of luck, and I'll see you in Maribor.
Right, Jack, let's wrap up. Riders who have yet to announce, who we haven't really talked about, or we've given them a passing mention. The ones I've got down here: Mike Jones, Lauren and Melanie Chapaz, Gaitan Vij, Yuri Zabchek, because the Da Vinci team folding, really. Jamie Edmondson, Michaela Parton, and Luke Williamson. Any ideas on any of those?
So I'm pretty sure Luke Williamson's privateering.
Right.
I've seen he's going to be supported by Renthal through ISON distribution, so that is a big clue that he's going to be privateering. Jury Zabchek will 100% stay with Junior, so whatever Junior's plans are, he will be a part of that. Whether Jamie Edmondson or Mike Jones are part of a Junior plan, maybe.
I think Mike Jones is waiting for frames. I think he's got something in the pipeline. I was messaging him, but he didn't give me too much away, but I think he's waiting. He's got something.
He's privateering?
No, I don't know. It didn't sound that way. It sounded like he was waiting for. He couldn't tell.
He on though?
Don't know.
Interesting. That Michaela Pink interview, I kind of skimmed over it.
Right.
There's no mention from her in that of anything exciting and new for next year. It was more just that she was going racing. So I think she's going to be on her own thing.
Do you think Cathro could be putting a team together?
Yeah, you see, now I said this. I actually had conversations with Jamie Edmondson myself with regards to our team, and when those conversations were happening, I was thinking a good kind of fit would be Cathro run, because obviously he basically ran a team in Maribor and Loser with Jamie Edmondson and Michaela Parton on that team, should we call it? And they had a great 2 weeks, so that would really make sense. So whether Cathro's working with Pink Bike to put a race team together, and Jamie Edmondson and Michaela are on that, possibly, who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's shaping up to be such an exciting season. We saw some racing at the end of 2020. Do you think 2021's going to run to schedule? How are you kind of preparing for the season?
Yeah, so I mean, my outlook is that I can't see that British race at Stinion going ahead. That just won't happen unless there's some kind of miracle. But they showed us last year that they can run World Cups during this nightmare that we're living through. So I could see the full World Cup season happening. No, I can't see any crowds. The only World Cup I worry about is Fort William. With the way things are in Scotland, I really doubt. I have doubts over whether that will happen in May, and then they won't reschedule. But I can see all the European rounds going ahead, and hopefully by September we'll be coming out the back of it, and we'll be able to get over to America for snowshoe. So we're just preparing as normal. We're hoping to get out to Europe, me and Dan, end of February, kind of March, and I've got a few contacts out there that I do some consultant work with developing bike tracks and stuff, so we can use that as a working reason to get out of the country. So we can kind of do some testing, because everyone's on the downhill bikes at the moment. Dan messaged me earlier just going nuts because he's on his Instagram looking at all these guys in Spain riding downhill, and he's staring out of his window at rain and snow, and he can't go anywhere. So we need to obviously get riding.
Are you finding it hard to stay motivated or not?
Not at the moment, because as I keep saying to Dan, at the moment all we need to be doing is in the gym, really. This is the strength phase, really, where strength and fitness, we need to be kind of not distracted with the downhill bike every day and putting the graft in. So no, at the moment I'm sound. With the outlook that in February we can get away and start doing some downhill. If that is taken away from us, then that's going to be a bit difficult to deal with. It's more the fear of being ready as well. We need to be ready in April to ride that 3.5 minute track as fast as we can, and the only way to be ready is to ride tracks that length and that rough. So can't do that really in the UK.
No. And everywhere's shut here anyway. So
and it's all shut, of course. So.
Well, thanks again to our sponsors, Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, Schwalbe, and SingletrackWorld.com. And just a reminder that we do still have some advertising slots available, so drop us a message on Instagram at Making Up the Numbers Racing if you can. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you've got a second, please drop us a review. Alternatively, please give us a follow on Instagram or on Facebook.com/Making Up the Numbers. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back very soon.